Thank you, Rabbi. You did one of the big builders of the Syrian community, Mamish. You know, I'm very touched to be here. I really am. I feel I'm emotional to be here. You know, he sat in my office, and I wrote the sefer. I said no when they asked me to write it. It's too much work. Please write it in English. And I said, no, I can't do it. It's too much work. Come on, no, do it. No. I said no. Somebody. Eventually, I gave in, and then look at this. Look at this. Unbelievable. I came to Brooklyn not so long ago because the Ben Chaim family brought me to write a book about Chacham Baruch, and I finished writing it. It's by them. They're reviewing it now, and as I'm writing the book, Chacham Baruch, Zichron Livracha, I'm thinking, this is the sleeping giant, the Syrian community, awakening the sleeping giant. It's unbelievable. 3,000 people learning every day and night in Shaarei Tzion. Who would have thought 20 years ago? The giant is waking up. When Japan attacked America, they said they woke up the sleeping giant. That's what's happening right now. The giant is waking up. So a big thank you to the hostess. Everyone, thank you. What is a chus to have such a beautiful gathering in your house? What is a chus? To Rabbi Yedid who comes, who really, Mom is creating what he's doing here. They could study this, in years to come. The study of how to change the community. To the Rebbe Tzindali. Yes? What's a Rebbitzin? Tell me. What is the meaning? How do you define Rebbitzin? It's not someone who influences a community? Is that not a Rebbitzin? Oh, you don't have smicha. I give you smicha right now. You want me to write it up for you? But we all know it doesn't happen by itself. Rebbitzin Dalit credits who she is by her parents. And her amazing parents, she says, I got what I am from them, from my family, my husband, and together, none of us live in a vacuum. So it's all of us. It takes a family, it takes a city, right? If you don't have people coming to listen to your Torah, then what is your worth as a teacher? So it takes everyone together. Baruch Hashem, we're here today.
Rabbi, you want that? Hold the papers?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Fine. Okay, so Mrs. Zami asked me to, just before we get into the speech, the actual speech, it is a siyum. We're going to talk about the Zera Shimshon Torah and some beautiful ideas about David HaMelech and Tehillim. But before she said, please tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about how this came to be. So the history of the situation is as follows. In 2007, I was already writing. So how did I get into writing? Let's start a little bit earlier, and then we'll go into the Zera Shimshon, and then we'll go into the actual Torah, and we'll have a beautiful, beautiful speech. So it starts like this. So I already wrote a book called The Edge, and it was 2003, 2004, and that was the novel. It was at a publisher. They were going through it. And at that time, I was looking to do some other work. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. My coil was finished at 6 o'clock every day, and I had some time. And I had an idea to go. Jonathan Rosenblum, he writes in Mishpacha magazine. He has an office across the street from Center 1 at that time. Today, it's the United Hatzalah headquarters. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm a writer. I could go offer my services to Jonathan Rosenblum. Maybe I could help him what he does. And it's inconceivable to me that he's going to say no. Obviously, he's going to say yes. If I come and say, I want to work with you, he's for sure going to say, of course, obviously. Why wouldn't he? So I don't even have an appointment. I show up at his office, and the secretary, I say, hello, can I speak to Mr. Rosenblum? And she asks him if he has a few minutes, and he says, yes, come in. And I come into his office, and it's full of papers and books, because he's a real intellectual, he's a real academic. He went to Yale. And unlike myself, who didn't finish high school, and I said to him, "Hi, how you doing? I would like to work with you and help you in your amazing writing. I know you write all different articles. Maybe I can help you research and help." He says, "I'm a one-man operation. It's just me and my secretary. Thank you so much. Agudas of America is opening an office now in Yerushalayim. Maybe you could work for them." I'm like, "I don't want politics, not for me, but thank you very much." So I walk out of his office. all dressed up and nowhere to go. Now what? My big plan didn't come through. So now what? What am I going to do? I walk out of the office and I see a sign. On the wall is a directory of different companies in the building. I said to myself, this is what I'm going to do. I will choose one company and I will walk inside. And I will ask them if they need someone. I do not know what they do, but let's see what happens. Let's see. So I take the elevator to the 3rd floor, and I see a company called JCOM. JCOM. And the sliding doors, automatic doors, open up. The secretary's sitting at the doors. She's on the phone. So I walked around the desk and into the company. And I started walking around. I gave myself a tour. And I'm looking at it. Looks like a very nice place. I don't know what they do over here, but they look like they're doing it well. And a good positive atmosphere. And after about 10 minutes, someone comes over to me and he says, can I help you? I said, I hope so. What are you looking for? I want a job. He says, can you write? I said, yes, that is what I do. My first book is coming out. Yes, when can I start? He says, not so fast. I said, what do you do here? He said, we outsource Yated Neman in English. In America, we do it here. We do the work in Israel. I said, amazing, sign me up. He says, first give me a sample of your work, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, the next day I brought him a sample, 20 pages from my first book. I said to him, okay, how long do you need before you get back to me? He says, give me 2 weeks. I'm like, 2 weeks? 2 weeks to read 20 pages, and you put out a newspaper every week? How does that work? Okay, 2 weeks, fine. 2 weeks go by, I don't hear from him. So I called him up, I said, what's going on? He said, yeah, I didn't get to it yet. I'm like, I'll call you back. All right, I'll call you back tomorrow. So you don't need 2 weeks, okay. So the next day, he calls me back. He says, listen, I don't know. So what, you don't know? I don't know if you have what it takes to write for us. I'm like, well, how are you going to know if you don't give me a chance? He's like, I don't know. So I'm like, what do you suggest? He says, maybe call Mishpacha, Hamodia, short stories. So I hang up the phone. And I was upset at him. I was like, it doesn't cost you any money to give me a chance. Give me a chance. Let me write a piece. If you don't like it, don't pay me. Give a person a chance. I learned a big lesson from that. Always give someone a chance. Just because they're 18 or 20 doesn't mean they don't have the ability to do big things. And because of that, great things happen. I made a movie with someone. He was very young. He called of that first book, The Edge. It's a very popular movie in the Jewish world. That today he's a very successful filmmaker. Again, it doesn't matter. Give a person a chance. So I was very upset at this person. But I said, okay. I sat down right then and I wrote my first short story. But then I said to myself, what am I going to do with it? I looked at Hamodia. It says editorial offices. It's so like serious, so professional. And I was just like, my self-confidence just got a beating. Call Hamodia, scary. So I didn't do it. I didn't call. But then someone came to my parents' house, an old friend of theirs. He was starting a newspaper. He asked me to write for him, whatever it was. I published. 6 months later, I called Hamodia. I got through to Mrs. Sarah Chava Mizrahi. She was the head of the magazine. I ended up writing for them. And within a year and a half, there's a genre called the Nachman Seltzer story. Baruch Hashem. A year and a half later, Shabbos morning, I'm sitting at a friend of mine across the table. There's a couple sitting there. The wife looked a little familiar. So after Amotzi, I said to her, why do you look familiar to me? And she said, she got this look in her face, a sheepish look in her face. And she said to me, I am the secretary at JCOM, she said. Yes, we know we made a mistake. Maybe you'll come work for us now. That was what happened. And I learned a tremendous life lesson. I learned that Hashem says, okay, you want something in life. Show me how much you want it. Get up and make your hishtadlut and start. And I will meet you. But show me that you want to do it. Don't sit back and say, Hashem, do all the work. Get up and start. And when you start, I will meet you in the middle. And that's what happened. And he said, I know you wanted to do that PR stuff for Yad Tedem, and it's not for you. You have to write novels and short stories, and you have to write Zera Shimshon, and you have to write this, and you have a lot of things that you need to do. That's not your job, but don't worry, I got you. I'm going to meet you in the middle. And I sat 20 years later, I sat in Eli Beer's office, United Hatzalah headquarters in Yerushalayim, exactly the same place that story happened 20 years earlier. And I told him that story, sitting across the desk, the same place 20 years earlier. Hashem has a journey for each one of us. And we have to get on that path. And Hashem's like, okay, you're doing it? I'm going to meet you. You're doing your shtadlut? Okay. So that leads us to Zera Shimshon. 2007, Friday night, I leave the shul. A friend of mine comes over to me. English guy, his name is Nigel. Nigel. Only English people, right? Can you imagine an American with the name Nigel? Nigel. So Nigel tells me, I have to tell you a story. My father was sick. Whole story. He learned Zera Shimshon. He was introduced to it by the person who has a farm store in Manchester. Learned the Sefer. It's a segula. He learned the Sefer. He got better. I wrote the story in the newspaper. And all over the world, people are reaching out to me. Where can I get the Sefer? It's out of print. It was out of print. It really was. You couldn't find it. And even if you found a copy, you could really understand it because it was written with an old font and the words are crowded together. It was very hard to understand. Even on a good day, it's hard to understand the Sefer. Even if you have the art scroll, it's hard. But this was very hard, and it was out of print. But it led to people reprinting the Sefer. And then in 2011, Rabbi Binyamin Pashkis, who devoted so much time to spreading Zera Shimshon, he tracked me down. I was in America with my wife, and he tracked me down. He said, please meet me in Borough Park in Agudas Yisrael, 18th Avenue. Please write a follow-up piece about all the people who saw Yeshuot in their life because they learned Zera Shimshon. And I did, and then he asked me to write another follow-up piece in 2013. And then eventually they started asking me to write in English, and that led to the first on the whole Torah, another volume, and then Eshet Chayil, and now Baruch Hashem, Tehillim just came out like a month ago, Baruch Hashem. So thank you so much. This is an amazing thing. And the more I talk to everybody here, I'm mamish touched. You don't understand. It's amazing to see what's coming out of this thing. It's unbelievable. It's changing so many lives. It's a beautiful thing to know. I'm sitting in my house, Ramat Beit Shemesh, and thousands of people around the world are learning the Sefer Shabbos Kodesh. They're with their teachers. They're learning. It's an unbelievable thing. Thank you, Hashem. Thank you. Zeh hayoim asa Hashem nagila v'nismechabay. So I want to start with, let's talk about Zera Shimshon. This is a siyum today. It's a big day. Let's talk about our Rabbi. That's a little Torah from our Rabbi. Let's talk about David HaMelech. Right? If I ask you, yesterday I spoke to a group, I spoke about the ultimate leader of Klal Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu. You enjoyed thank you so much. Okay. But today I want to talk about the leader of Klal Yisrael. I think if I ask you who's the one we connect to the most, that the most beloved of our leaders, I think it's David HaMelech. We feel so connected to him. It's hard to feel connected to Avraham Avinu, not because we're not connected, but he did things that it's like we can't do these. Hashem says, Shech Yisrael, we're not there, we're not in that place. But David HaMelech, his life is a life that we can relate to. He had so many challenges, and he got up each time. It's unbelievable. Tehillim is like a therapy book, if you think about it. David HaMelech is sharing all his things, his hardships. He's sharing it with everyone. This is what I went through. This is what I went through. And it's for us to understand that if he went through it, and he got up, we can also learn from him. So I want to start with a word from the Zera Shimshon, a concept, then we're going to bring it up, we're going to open it up, and talk about David HaMelech and what he went through, and how it happened that he sinned, because right off the bat, we have to understand how that happened. Especially David HaMelech said about himself, he testified about himself, Libi chalal bekirbi, I have no yetzer hara. I beat my yetzer hara, so I believe you. I believe David HaMelech. If he beat his yetzer hara, how did that happen with Bathsheba? We have to understand this. Something to understand. I believe it. He said he beat his yetzer hara, so then how did he end up sinning? We have to understand. But before, let's go into just we have to talk about, we have to give the kavod to the Zera Shimshon for his Torah. And the pasuk tells me, in Tehillim, Pnei Elai v'chaneni, ki yachid v'ani, ani. What is the pasuk teaching me with the words, ki yachid v'ani, ani? From these words, it seems like David HaMelech is beseeching Hashem to turn to him specifically because he is a yachid. He is on his own. So the Zera Shimshon wonders, why is that a good thing that you're on your own? Your solitary state is a point in your favor. Hashem would turn to him dafka because he's by himself. Doesn't it say, "Hey, Kel kabir lo yumas, which means that Hashem is never turned away by the tefillah of the tzibur. To be in a tzibur is a good thing. Why is David HaMelech speaking about his solitary state? What was David HaMelech's kavanah when he said, Ki yachid v'ani ani? After all, David is a king. He's not a yachid. He's not a poor man. What does he mean? Says the Zera Shimshon, I want to quote you a Gemara. Gemara tells me David HaMelech brought a korban olah as a teshuvah for the story that happened with Bathsheba. The Gemara says the story of David and Bathsheba should never have happened. And the only reason it happened was because Hashem wanted to teach Klal Yisrael a big lesson. What are we supposed to learn? Hashem did this because He wanted to see how David HaMelech was going to do Teshuvah and to teach us that we could do Teshuvah. But why would Hashem cause David HaMelech to sin so he would do Teshuvah? The answer is, this is not just for David HaMelech. He wants us to learn. It's not just for David HaMelech. He wants us to learn from the actions. That anyone can make a mistake. Even David HaMelech. Anyone. And anyone can do an Aveira. But everyone can do Teshuvah. The Zera Shimshon continues. The Gemara further says, She'im chata yachid, omrim lo kalach etzel yachid. What does that mean? It means if Hashem hadn't wanted David HaMelech to teach Klal Yisrael about the koach of doing Teshuvah, Hashem would have helped him save himself from the sin. But Hashem did want him to teach everyone the lesson of Teshuvah. And that is why this story happened as it did. And we're going to go into this in a minute. We're going to open this up. It's an incredible Gemara. It's amazing. The whole story is unbelievable. Keeping all this in mind, David said to Hashem, Pnei Elai v'chaneni. Hashem, the reason I was made to sin was in order for me to teach every yachid that he could do Teshuvah. And because that was what you, Hashem, wanted to happen. I was a poor man. I received no heavenly assistance to escape from the Yetzer Hara. And since that is the case, Hashem, you need to be mochel me. You need to forgive me. Why? Because if you don't forgive me for my sin, nobody will be able to learn the lesson of doing Teshuvah. No one will be able to learn about being forgiven from me, which will then mean I was caused to do an Avera for no reason. That is a piece from the Zera Shimshon. Your teachers will probably go into this when they get to it, expound on it. It's a beautiful piece. And now I want to open it up. I want to tell you what I learned with my Charuta and the Gemara we were learning. We came across this Gemara and what we came out with. So, the Gemara of Zera tells us that David HaMelech, he had this terrible story. He had this story, right? And everyone knows it's such a sad thing because he was such a great man, such a tzaddik. And everyone in the world knows about it. If you ask anyone, you can ask any person, religious, not religious, Jewish, not Jewish, ask him, you know, King David, Bathsheba. That's the only thing people know sometimes. What a sad thing. David HaMelech is so much more than that. David HaMelech is the Avot. David HaMelech is the Ushpizit. David HaMelech is the Mashiach. David HaMelech is the king. David HaMelech is... he's everything. And what do they know? Bathsheba. Unbelievable. And I don't understand because what did I tell you before? David HaMelech said, I overcame my Yetzer Hara. So if you overcame your Yetzer Hara, how's that possible that this happened? How could you have fallen in a way that people still talk about today? How did this come about? I don't understand. I want to understand how this happened. Says Rashi, on the spot, in Avodah Zarah, Hashem took away David HaMelech's Bechira, and he sinned. Hashem took away his Bechira. Can you imagine? Isn't that one of the pillars of the Judaism? Everyone has Bechira, everyone has free will, and Hashem took it away. Why? Because he wants to teach us the concept of doing Teshuvah in the world. Look at David HaMelech, one of the greatest people. If he could sit and get up again, so could you. If he considered be considered a big person, you can also do Teshuvah. Wait a second. I don't understand. How can Hashem take away a person's Bechira? Isn't that against the rules of how God set up the world? He set up the world. Everything's, you can do everything. But Bechira, everyone has. You have the choice. You have the free will. Says Rashi, I'll tell you what happened. It was a Gezerat HaMelech, a decree from the king, Liten Pitchom Pe LaShavim, to give people a chance to do Teshuvah. And the Gemara tells us who is the most famous person in the Gemara who did Teshuvah. Which rabbi? Anybody know which is the famous rabbi who was not a good person, but he did Teshuvah?
Judy.
Where is one of the rabbis who knows everything? Where is she? Rabbi Akiva wasn't a Rasha. He was a Amaretz. But who was Menashe? Somebody who did Teshuvah became a big rabbi afterwards. Resh Lakish, exactly. Rabbi Shimshon Lakish. And he was, who was he? He was like Rabbanut. He was a robber. Rabbanut would steal from the poor, from the rich and give to the poor. Resh Lakish steal from everyone and take it for himself. Very similar, but a little different. And he was this robber. He had a band of men who follow him. And he was so powerful he could jump across the swimming pool, the Gemara says. He comes to the swimming pool, he jumps right across the swimming pool. He was so powerful. And one day, Resh Lakish is doing his jump across the swimming pool. He jumps in the middle of the Jordan River, and there's Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is there in the river, and Rabbi Yochanan, the Gemara says, one of the most beautiful people ever. Like Rabbi Yedid said, it's a beauty, it's an internal beauty. The chayra, it's an internal beauty, maybe also external. Whatever it was, Resh Lakish was very impressed with the rabbi, how he looked. And Rabbi Yochanan looks at Resh Lakish, at this powerful person, and he says to him, you should use your power for Torah. And Resh Lakish comes back with a snappy answer, and he says, and you should use your beauty for Averot, he says to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, I like you, he says. You're a good guy. You have potential. I like you, and I want to make a deal with you. You think I'm good looking? You should see my sister, he says. She is way better looking than me. I'll make a deal with you. If you agree to go to yeshiva and learn Torah and take all of that unbelievable strength that you have, that power, and put it into learning, I'm going to make a shidduch between you and my sister. He doesn't even ask her. He just makes it a shidduch. Yeah. Anyways, she agrees. She agrees, and they get married, and Resh Lakish becomes one of the greatest rabbis, and he's mentioned all over Shas, all over, almost every page of Shas, you find Resh Lakish, he's all over Shas. And I want to quote to you what Resh Lakish said. Resh Lakish has a lot of akarat tov to David HaMelech. He says, Ba'u v'nachzik tuva la'avoteinu, let us say thank you to our forefathers, and he's talking about David HaMelech. She'ilmalei hein lo chatu, if they wouldn't have sinned, anu loy banu la'olam, we could have never done Teshuvah for what we did. Were it not for the fact that David sinned, people like me, said Resh Lakish, would have never been able to do Teshuvah. I don't understand. That still doesn't make me happy. Who says you can make one person sin so that another person will do Teshuvah? Who says? Where do we have this concept? You want to make David HaMelech sin to teach the world so that Resh Lakish can become a great person? Why? David HaMelech was such a great person. He worked so hard his whole life, and now you're making him sin. So that Resh Lakish, so what? It's not fair. To sum up, David HaMelech sinned, but he was forced to. What about Akol B'dei Shemayim? How could Hashem take his Bechira from him? What about B'derech She'adam Rotze Leilech? What about all these things Chazal tell us? Unless we come to understand something very amazing. What if I tell you that this is what David HaMelech wanted? Why? The answer is, everyone, because every person has a dream in life. Every person sitting here has a dream. We all have a dream. One person's dream is to start their own line of fashion care. I don't know. One person's dream is to have, right? A line of shoes. One person, I want to teach Torah. I want to be a teacher of Zera Shimshon. I want to start classes. Everyone has a dream. David HaMelech had a dream. You know that? He had a dream. What was his dream? David HaMelech said to Hashem, I have a dream. Rabbi Shalom, I have a dream. I want, when you go to shul on Shabbat, you hear the Chazan, at least for Ashkenazim, we do the Nusach of Ashkenazim. You go to shul and the Chazan goes, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosseinu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak Elokei Yaakov v'Elokei David Hakel. I want to be one of the Avos, one of the Avot. I want to join a select club, very small club of 3 members, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. I want to be there. I want it to be Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David. I want the forefathers to literally be the forefathers. He comes to Hashem, Rabbi Shalom. I want to join the Avos. Hashem says, are you sure? It's not so simple. Not that I'm knocking you. You're great. Maybe you deserve to be in that club. But are you sure? What's the problem, says the David HaMelech? The problem is, if you want to join the Avos, you have to go through a lot of tests. It's not a simple thing to join the Avos. Are you ready for the tests? Says David HaMelech, am I ready? Libi chalal b'kirbei overcame Yetzirah. Of course I'm ready. So what does Hashem do then? He takes away his bechira. So now suddenly it's not so simple anymore. He thought he overcame his Yetzirah, but suddenly Hashem takes away his bechira. His free will is gone. He has no choice. So first of all, if he has no choice, what kind of a test is that? Right? It's not a test if you can't pass it. That's not a test. If there's no way he can overcome what happened with Bathsheba, then it's not a test. So why is that a test? That's not even a test. I don't understand. That's not a test. So let's put that on the side. We'll come back to that. I don't understand. That's number one. Okay, so David HaMelech wants this. He asks for it. Hashem gives it to him. And then Hashem takes away his bechira and makes him sin. How can Hashem do that? By taking away the bechira, Hashem shows all future Bali Teshuvah, you can also return. But it's not fair to David. But it is. Why? Because who do we turn to? When Klal Yisrael has Tarot, who do we turn to? Tehillim. David HaMelech, we turn to David through Tehillim, where we hear the cries of his wounded soul, singing praises to Hashem through everything that happened to him. The lion, and the bear, and Ashol, and Avshalom, and Adoniyahu, the Plishtim, Bathsheba, his father. So many things happened to him, and he wrote about them, and we connect to him. And why do we connect to him more than anyone else? Because he fell and got back up. And if he fell and got back up, so can we. So did Hashem give him what he wanted? He gave him something even greater in a way. He's the man we connect to anytime we're in trouble. It's a beautiful thing. So David HaMelech is Ushpizin. And David HaMelech is the Mashiach, comes from him. And the king. And he's mamish unbelievable in every tchum. And he's the one we turn to anytime we're in trouble. But wait a second. I know he got something amazing. But that's not what he asked for. What did he ask for? I want to be one of the Avot. That's what he asked for, right? Is he? So did he achieve that goal, everyone? Did he, at some level, become one of the Avot? Can anyone think of something where we see that David HaMelech did become one of the Avot? Anyone? Can anyone think of a place where we see that David HaMelech did achieve it?
Of course.
Where?
One of the leg of the...
Beautiful! One of the 4 legs of the Merkavah, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and David. And another place. Beautiful. I'll give you another example where we see that David HaMelech is one of the Avos on a certain level. Because there's a bracha in the Haftorah that we say, Magen David, and the Gemara in Pesachim says, V'asita lecha shem gadol b'shem agdolim, like the names of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Magen David, Zeu shomrim Magen David. This pasuk teaches us that we say the name of David in the bracha of the Haftorah, like we say Magen Avraham in Shmona Esrei. So he mamish becomes one of the Avot. On a certain level, he's like a quasi-Av. Yeah, maybe not 100%, but he's up there. And the Gemara says, Pasuk Rosh HaShalishim, the Pasuk is referring to the Avot, and how David will lead them into Olam Haba at the end of times. And the Gemara says, after Tchiyat HaMetim, there will be a great Su'udah for Tzadikim, and David will lead Davot in the benching. Okay? So he achieves everything. All his goals. Beautiful. Now I have a question, everyone. I have a question. This is my question. You are one of the Avot. But you don't need that. You're the king. Mashiach, Ushpizit, Beis HaMikdash. It's all you. Rabbi the Shalaylam. You need to be one of the Avos also? You need everything? What a chutzpah. I don't understand. Who says you should come to Hashem and say, I also want this? So I want to explain to you, I think, how this is an unbelievable thing and how it's applicable to every single one of us. Through a story. Many years ago, I had a chavruta. I was learning with a bachur in yeshiva, and they were paying me to learn with him. And that was part of my parnasah. But I wanted to learn with someone my own age. To really, if I'm already doing it in the mirror, why I should learn with someone younger? I wanted to learn with someone my age. But I needed the money. So I went to have a conversation with Hashem. And I said, Rabbi Shalom, I'll make a deal with you. I am going to learn with someone my own age, and you're going to send me money. So Hashem said, okay. And off we went. Of course Hashem would say, okay, right? I mean, he wants you to learn Torah. So I started learning with this guy, and I told Hashem I have enough money till the end of Sukkot. He said, Elul, I have money till Sukkot, and then afterwards I need you to send me money. That's the deal. I will learn, you will send the money. And every day I'm waiting for Hashem to send me some money. It's going to fall, it's a checkbook, it's something coming, somebody come to me, I'm here, I want to give you. Okay, I'm waiting. The month passes, no money, everything's good, I'm completely sure it's going to come. And after all, I have a deal with God. Comes Sukkot, beautiful holiday in Yerushalayim, and every Chol HaMoed Sukkot, my wife's grandparents, Saba and Safta, Mezel had a minhag. They had the family of a party on their porch, the sukkah, on Rehov Brand in Harnof. Every Chol HaMoed, we have a party. The whole family comes, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It's a beautiful night. So everyone's there, Chol HaMoed Sukkot, and everyone's having a good time. It's beautiful. The whole family's together. We have Charedim, we have Mizrahi, we have everyone, all the types. Sfardim, Ashkenazim, it's a tapestry of the Jewish people. Beautiful. Only a family like Eretz Yisrael produces. You have Chayalim, you have this guy, you have Yeshiva guy, you have Koila guy, all the types. And in the middle of the night, there's a knock on the door, and my wife's grandfather opens the door, Saba, Irving Mezel, he opens the door, and there's his best friend, just came from Lawrence, New York, Dr. Moshe Katz from Lawrence, New York. His best friend. Now, how did they become best friends? That story began 50 years before that night. That night's 20 years ago. So it's 70 years ago. 70 years ago, the story started. What happened? Irving Mezel, he's not a frum guy. He's a traditional Jew, but he's not really religious. But then he has a kid. He has a boy, and he wants to send the boy to yeshiva. So what does he do? He works for the New York City Housing Department. He's not a rich guy. He doesn't have money to pay tuition, but he decides, I'm going to come with my kid for nursery. I want my kid to know Torah. And he walks into one of the yeshivas in the 5 towns. He goes into the office, and he says to the guy by the desk, hello, my name is Irving Mezel, and I want to sign up my son, Howie, to the yeshiva. Says the guy by the desk, do you have money to pay tuition? Says Irving Mezel, I do not. However, I am a contractor, and I'll make you a deal. Anything breaks in the yeshiva, call me, I'll fix it. That's the way I'll pay. I'll pay minimal, and anything breaks, I'm your man. I know probably how much you pay on contractor work. I'll be your man. I'll take care of everything. Says the man by the desk, thank you so much. We'll deal with our yeshiva. You come back next year, we'll get you a scholarship. Irving Mezel looks at the guy. What? I'm bringing my kid to learn Torah, and you're telling me no? What kind of yeshiva are you? What kind of a Jew are you? What kind of a parents do you have? Now he's like a New York City housing department guy. You can imagine. He's not like, he's a tough guy from New York City. He's like, you call yourself Ishi, he starts yelling at the guy. And he's like, I don't want to say what he said. So he said, use your imagination. He's like screaming and he's You have to know Saba. Saba was a tough guy. He wasn't. Dr. Moshe Katz is sitting in his office. He hears somebody screaming, like the world is coming to. He gets out of his office and he sees this guy slamming doors, walking out of the school. He follows him to the parking lot. And he says, excuse me, sir, can I get a ride with you to Farakaway? So the man says, sure, get into my car. So Dr. Moshe Katz says goodbye to his own car. And he goes into this man's car and he says, what happened? Why are you so upset? So the man says, Rabbi Mezel says, what do you mean? I came to be my kid to yeshiva. And they said to me, no, because you don't have enough money. And I said, I'm a contractor. I'll pay by work. I think that's a good deal. I'm not asking for charity. And Dr. Katz said, it is a good deal. I paid the checks. It's a very good deal. I'll bring you the papers tomorrow. He says, I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's a very good deal. I will bring you the papers tomorrow. Your son's in the school. They become best friends. Every Shabbos, they eat together. Saba becomes vice president of the Young Israel for Rockaway. Moshe Katz was the president, Saba's the vice president. He built the building of the Young Israel for Rockaway. And every time Moshe Katz drives by the building, he says, that's the building my friend Irving built. Best friend, they become from, makes him from. And now it's 50 years later. And Moshe Katz walks into the porch. And Saba puts his arm around his best friend. He says, Moshe, it's all yours. It's all yours, Moshe. At the end of the party, Moshe Katz comes over to me. He says, Reb Nachman, I love your writing. I want to write a book about my family from the Holocaust. 9 out of 10 kids survived the war. Come to my hotel the day after Sukkot. The day after Sukkot. I'm going to talk about writing the book. So the day after Sukkot, I drove to the King Solomon Hotel in Yerushalayim. I sat with Moshe Katz. And at the end of the meeting, he gave me the first check. And for the next half a year, a check came in the mail. And I had more than enough money for what I needed. But it wasn't just that book, because that led to Child of War. And that led to... And 50 books later, here we are in Deal, New Jersey, with all of you. So the idea, 50 bucks, Baruch Hashem. And the idea is, everyone, the idea is that, who says you could have, sometimes we feel like, who am I to say to Hashem, I want to be great? Who am I? It's a chutzpah, no? I'm just a regular person. And the answer is no. No. Because David HaMelech had no business asking to be one of the avos on the surface. Who says you have everything? What a chutzpah. No, Hashem loves when people have chutzpah to be great. Every person over here has, find the chutzpah inside you. Look around, be a leader. Together, have chutzpah to grow. Have the chutzpah to push your husband to learn. Have the chutzpah to raise your children to be Torah-dik. Have the chutzpah to bring Torah into your houses. Have the chutzpah. Who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm a regular person. No. Hashem loves that chutzpah. When Hashem sees a person who's a regular person who has chutzpah, Hashem loves it. Hashem says, yes, I'm going to give it to you. You have the chutzpah to ask, I'm going to give it to you. David HaMelech became one of the avos. It's a chutzpah. Hashem says, I love it. I'm going to give you what you want. Have the chutzpah. I want to finish off with one story, touching on what Rabbi Yedid said, because I believe this is a siyum. I don't want to talk about a siyum. A friend of mine told me he was in yeshiva in Bnei Brak years ago, and there was a guy in yeshiva named Mati. And Mati was an interesting guy. He was interested in all sorts of things. He liked photography. He would take pictures. He'd have albums full of pictures. He would get new sneakers. He would take pictures of the new sneakers. And a basketball, take pictures of the basketball. A series of these pictures, a series of that pictures. And Mati had a whole music collection. He had all the Michal Yaakovson CDs, MJ. He had all these CDs from back in the day. He was a big fan and all these stuff. He was a guy with many eclectic tastes. But he wasn't so into learning. And if you would ask, this guy, my friend told me, if you would ask me, who's going to be a great person in learning, I would never say Mati. I would never think Mati. But one day, Mati says, I'm making a siyum, he said, on Chamisha Chumshei Torah. And everyone looked at it like it's a joke. He's in yeshiva. You make a siyum on a Masechta, not on a Chumash. But Mati's making a siyum on Chumash. You know what? His father owned a big meat company in Bnei Brak. and he made a siyum like you wouldn't believe. It was so unbelievable with music, a full-piece band. It was unbelievable that everyone was coming and they were dancing with Mati because he made a siyum, a chamisha Torah. But it was like they were laughing at him. Mati, what a good job you did, and make a siyum, not take him seriously. A few months go by, Mati made a siyum on the Ben Ish Chai, and again they made a party, and again this, and again everyone's laughing. Mati, Mazel Tov, great job, congratulations, Mati. He was a party guy, Mati. Nobody took him seriously. He's not a learner. He's a fun guy. He takes pictures. He has music. He's geschmack. He's not a learner. He's not a guy you would think is going to become great in learning. Slowly but surely, Mati makes a siyum on another Masechta. Mati makes a siyum on another Masechta. And one day, my friend tells me, he's invited to Mati's siyum Hashas. He hires a hall, the biggest wedding hall in Petach Tikva. There's a 10-piece band. Mati is flown into the hall by helicopter. They lower a ladder, and he climbs down the ladder into the place, and there's this huge thing. And everyone, again, they're not taking him seriously. He made a siyum Hashas, it's unbelievable, but it's Mati. Mati's a fun guy. He plays ball, he takes pictures, he listens to music. Mati, they're not taking him seriously. And my friend says, eventually you leave yeshiva, you get married, and you go your separate ways. Time passes. I haven't seen Mati in about 5 years. And then one day, he says, I run into Mati. There's something about him, it's different. I can't put my finger on it. It's not the same person. I look at him, I'm trying to find the Mati I know. And I say, Mati, how's the photography doing? He says, yeah, I don't really do it anymore. How's the music collection? I gave it to my brother. I gave it to my nephew. And suddenly I understood. It's just not the same person. What happened? Why do we make a siyum? Every time we learn, there's something that changes inside us. And we don't see it, like Rabbi did said. We don't see it. But there's something changing. But if you don't see a person for 5 years, and you come back and see them, suddenly they're not the same person. Mati now is not the same Mati. And that's what happens. I know if I come back, Be'ez Hashem, 2 years from now. Next year, but I'm saying that difference in a year also. But if I come back in 2 years, I know that everyone here, it's going to be that I'll be like, Mati, what happened to you? And it's not the same group. It's just a different community, a different city. The giant is waking up. We're waking up the sleeping giant through the koach of the tzaddik. You're doing for the tzaddik, when you learn his Torah, in Shemaim, he goes up in Shemaim. He has a karata tov, and he goes to daven for every one of you. And it has an effect on us. And lat, slowly but surely, every word of Torah goes into every neshama, and nobody here stays the same. And when I come back here, B'ezrat Hashem, and I see you all again, it's going to be a different crowd. And it's a great crowd now. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. And every person tells me what's going on and how it's affecting them, and it's a chus for me, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much for learning my Torah and for making it part of your lives. I really feel like we're all connected, like we're mishpacha. I appreciate this. And I'm telling you, when I come back, if you keep on doing this, it slowly but surely is going to go into your neshamas, and you're not going to be the same people. You are going to be great. Have the chutzpah to be great people. Hatzlacha Rabba. I'm sure you will all do it. Thank you so much for coming. We should all do Ratzon Hashem.